Hey, Chamber members, Alan Waters here, your Director of Marketing and Communications in the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce and your Words of Wisdom podcast. Forgot the name of the podcast there for a second. Today, I'm joined by
Kasey Blouse, the owner of Blouse House Creative.
Okay, you remembered that, so we're good. Off to a good start. So this is your fourth time here this year. I think this is 6 overall.
I think so.
5 or 6.
5 or 6.
We can count. We're good.
Mm-hmm. Worst part of my job.
Right, yeah. The math.
Yeah.
All right, so it is the end of 2025. From our first time recording the beginning of this year to now, what's your kind of retrospective look at this year?
So one of the things, this is like my biggest improvement, I guess, this year. I got an accountability partner, and it changed my whole world, to be honest. Because, like, not even that they're like, oh, you didn't get this done, because I do actually try to get done. It's like the thought process of like, I have a meeting with this person like once a week, and if I don't do the things I told her I was gonna do, then like that's gonna be not fun to tell her. Like, it's almost like your mom disapproving, right? Like,
right.
And not even that we have it so that we have a lot of grace for each other, but like it's like almost like a competitive thing with yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like, I gotta get this done, but it has really like made me like dive into working on the business, not in the business, even just like being by myself, you know, like just making those times and being very thoughtful about it and doing the things that you say you want to do, but you never actually get done. So that has been a game changer this year. And it's just so good. And it has to be the right person. Like, we're very like similar, but we're not competitors. And so it's like, it's just such a good person to have. So
that was one of the things that I talked about last night at launch, that having that time to just dedicate and say, all right, I'm going to be working on business is incredible, because we spend so much time as small business owners doing that we don't get the chance to do the stuff that like it's always like the next emergency, the next thing that's going on, the next deadline. And then you forget about, I have to build this. So do you feel like, since accountability partner, since some of the other things, have you hit the goals that you were going into this year, or have those goals shifted throughout the year?
Oh, they change all the time, because I feel like that's inevitable. Even right now, one of the things I was supposed to do this week is like reevaluate where I was, right? Because there were some things that changed that were kind of out of my control. And so I can't tell you that I've fully gotten it done, but you know, we're working towards it to like reevaluate to finish out the year strong. But as far as like even sales goals and things that I've had for myself, I've like somehow just managed to get to where I need to be. And I know it's because I've dedicated myself. Because when you do those things for your business, even though they're not directly related to sales, they help so much. Like, I've been on the social media, not this week, but other weeks I've been on the social media game. And it's not even that I think I get a ton of sales from that. People just see you and they get that constant like reminder, like, oh, hey, she's here. Like, oh, what if I need this? Or this is something else she can do I didn't know. So, and I recently did like a, little giveaway thing. You got to win one of them.
I did.
So you're the only guy who entered.
It's in my car. Actually, I think it's in Rachel's car now, but yeah.
But anyway, so I just like things like that are fun to just engage community and that kind of thing. And I feel like people got excited. I got excited about it probably more than anybody else, because of like, I just think stuff like that's so much fun. So.
But it's, and Christina and I have talked about this on the podcast a lot. It's you. And that is what drives any business. It is. There are going to be competitors out there, and I don't think competition's a bad thing. Yeah. I think it's a good thing. But it also really gives you the chance to shine and say, this is me, this is who I am, this is what excites me. And yeah, it's brand awareness. I feel like sometimes social media can be otherwise, but it's sometimes still social media. It's not always advertisements,
right.
Occasionally. And yeah, thank you for the coasters.
Yeah.
So as we're in this time as well, actually, I think when this episode comes out, actually, I know when it comes out, the annual awards have just happened. So last was it last year or the year
I
before?
think it was the year before.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you were the winner of the minority-owned business member of the year. And as a woman-owned business, which I think sometimes people go, oh, I guess that is a minority-owned business. And there is a little bit of that connection. But as a woman-owned business here in Montgomery County, here in Virginia, in a predominantly male-owned industry, how has that kind of impacted the trajectories you've taken? Even some of the things like your design choices for your own company brand, because we talked about your coloring and your teal, and I think that's something you look sometimes at. I feel like the male-owned businesses, and it's like red, solid blue, like it's very strong colors, not that veer off of the path of I can count this in a rainbow. Right. I know there are multiple kinds of purple, but like it's it's one of those things. Yeah. So how has that kind of impacted your trajectory as a business owner?
So when I went into it, when I first started in my basement, I did have red. And I don't know, I was drawn to that. It's my husband's favorite color. And I don't know, I just like kind of started with that. And I quickly realized that was not me. Like, it's not me, right? Like, don't get me wrong, I like all the colors and different,
right?
That's my world. But I was like, I need something that's more me. And I was like expanding at that point too when I changed, like soon after that I was expanding. And so I was like, this just needs to be like the creative part is what I focused on. And while that confuses some people, sometimes they're like, Blouse House creative, like what is that? Like, what do you do? And so I have to explain myself a lot, which I'm okay with because then I get to talk about it. And like, now that I've been an entrepreneur for so long, it's like, I love talking about myself and my business. But, and then it gives you something, to talk about on social media. Like, hey, look at this, what I can do. And I kind of get to encompass anything I want to do under that. And I have so many ideas in my head as like a creative and an entrepreneur, and those two clashing, like, makes you kind of a little crazy sometimes. But so I kind of specifically chose that and chose colors that would represent who I am because I don't want to be like anybody else, and I don't, you know what I mean? I've kind of always been that way. Even when I was young and quiet, I was still like, this is who I am, and I don't really care if you like it. So as far as being in like male-dominated field, I think that I kind of always like been in something that's like that. Even retail sometimes was very heavily like I worked in the hardware department. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't do like things like that. So I've always like had guy best friends. So stuff like that has never bothered me. Like, guys make more sometimes inappropriate jokes than women. Not always, because if you've met some women, they're just I don't care. And I'm kind of one of those like so I don't really, stuff like that doesn't bother me. And so I kind of I feel like I fit right in with stuff like that. I have gotten a little bit of like backlash from like people calling me like, oh, you don't have a man who installs graphics on your cars? I'm like, no, it's me. And the majority of the employees I've had have been females. So I just kind of like, well, I guess I'm not for you. Like, and I'm okay with that.
Well, and that's one of the things that I was thinking of is, even in saying that, I do feel like while some of the businesses are owned more by males, you see more men that are in the production side of things. The graphic design and the design side, I feel like, tends to skew the other way. So I was going to ask, like, when you get into some of that, how does that piece impact, which you started to answer as well? Because, like, I do think people go, oh, there's a ladder, there has to be a guy. And as a guy that's not loving heights, I don't want to be up on the ladder. So when you have those moments, is it something, have you ever had someone that's like completely, no, I'm not going to work with you?
Yes.
That's wild to me.
At least twice.
That's wild. So when you were going through that, what have been some of those pieces that have kind of helped you say, all right, great, this is how I move past it, or this is how I have to approach it? Because I think we see here at the Chamber, the most of the interaction we have, the most of the people that we get involved are women-owned businesses. So I think it's something we have a good community, but I know you're involved with other organizations and other
Mhm.
things that help with that. So over the years, how has that been, I guess, realization, or
Mhm.
at what point did you go, oh, or did you go in knowing like, hey, this might be a struggle I'm going to face?
I mean, I kind of assumed that, especially when I started doing like the sign stuff and things. And um, I think just being educated about what you're doing is the biggest thing. And when I don't know something, I just admit to it and be like, oh,
Mm,
I've never done that. But I would love to try if you're like willing to kind of take a chance on me. And I feel like just being honest about things like that, because I'm not going to pretend to know something that I don't know.
right.
The imposter syndrome comes up a lot. I mean, it's just a thing with females mostly, but you have to just push past that. And I think where this community has a lot of female owned businesses, whether they're in male dominated fields or not, they just like are so supportive and so like encouraging. So when I just feel like having an off day or like have had somebody call and be like, oh, well, you're not a
Mm,
male, so I'm not gonna, and I'm like, I mean, most of the time I can just brush it off, but if I can't or get in a stuck place, I just call one of my female business owner friends and be like, let's go get lunch and a margarita so we can talk about this and move on from it because I
yeah.
need to get it out. And I don't know. I haven't run into a ton of it. Just a handful of times, and there's been a couple that I feel like I felt that, and they still went with me.
Hmm.
And more often than not, it was kind of a terrible experience, and I'm like, I should have just said no to that. And so I'm kind of learning that now, like to really pay attention to people's words when they're talking to you, like and
Mm,
coming in, and so you know how that situation is going to end up. Because once you've lived it enough, you can kind of figure out some of those things. And it's okay to say no to stuff. I said no to
right.
something yesterday, and I was like, I'm so proud of myself. So,
And
mm,
I mean, I know we've had that talk too when it comes to pricing and budgeting
mhm,
as well. As someone who doesn't see that,
mhm,
where do you see that difference in they're not being thrown off by my pricing?
mhm,
They're being thrown off by the fact that I'm a woman. Is it in the way someone will talk to you? Is it just in some of the interactions? I mean,
yeah.
where does that kind of begin?
I've had a couple place times where it's been straight up. They've just said it, and I'm like, okay, well,
Wow.
luckily both of those were on the phone, so they could not see my facial expression because I'm sure it was not great. But they're like, oh, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you have a nice day, and just kind of get off the phone as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Other times it's just like you can see their like hesitation, or they're just like at when they ask a lot more questions. I feel like because they're like trying to figure out if you know what you're talking about. And that's
Yeah.
where I say the education comes in. If you can tell them what they want to know, like, I mean, I know that I know what I'm doing. Like, if I don't, again, I admit it. And I
Right.
usually tell people that I'm like, look, I haven't, I've done this, but I haven't done this other thing. They're very similar, but, I haven't actually gotten to experience that on my own. I've done it with
Right.
other people, like in other jobs I've worked or, whatever. So, and so, yeah, it really, I think the biggest tell is like if they just start questioning you about how you do something or whatever, unless you can tell they're just excited and want to know, because I do have some of that too. But
Right.
you can
Yeah.
very much tell a difference of whether they're questioning you or just excited about what you're
That's
doing.
sometimes I feel like I
Mm.
get myself a lot because I'm like, am I mansplaining or am I hyper focused?
Yeah.
Like where am I at right now?
Yeah.
Um, but I also think that's something that it's up to more men to realize like, hey, I have to think about that and
Hmm.
be aware of that because it's easy to come across. I know of one situation this past year where someone was just not aware of the impact they were having on the others around them based on how they were talking and
Hmm.
acting. And not that that gives someone an excuse, but like the lack of awareness hurt them that someone was like, yeah, I'm not going to do business because,
Hmm.
and then after a conversation, it was one of those of like, I didn't realize at all. That's just my energy. And it's
Yeah.
like, you might have to work on your energy a little bit. Um, so through some of those, aside from chamber, how have you gone about making those connections? And do you think it's something unique to Montgomery County, or do you think it's something that is a camaraderie? between women-owned businesses, because you share a similar struggle, that those relationships can be more collaborative instead of competitive?
I think so. You asked me 2 questions, and I'm trying to process both. So for the first one, I do think I don't remember now. I'm overthinking. For the second one, with it being local tier,
Right.
I think that there are other places that are like that, and I think just depending on the situation you're in, I think women kind of unite together. They're also usually, not always, because
Right.
I won't say that, better at building relationships. And for me, that's what business has always been about, is building those relationships. And so I've tried to put myself a little bit everywhere, as I can. I've been much better about managing my time and not being in everything. But I used to just, oh, well, they got something going on, let me go and talk to people. And but doing things that are in different, chamber, I do home builders things, and ABWA for American Business and Women Association thing. It's just kind of putting yourself in different situations so you get a little bit of encouragement or see what other people are doing. So even if they're not in your industry, you can still just relate on things, men or women, either way. I have some really good male supporter, you know what I mean? They're like, man, you're awesome. I'm never going to anybody else. You're great, or I've been told that they, prefer to work with me because I'm female and I think through all the things sometimes that maybe other people don't. But the community aspect of females in general, I think, is probably nationwide, at least, just building each other up. I feel like that's been a big thing lately. And I don't know. I think it's really, really good here in Montgomery County, though, as far as how many female-owned businesses, even just people starting businesses, I can tell from doing things with them that there's a lot more females than males, even coming up through the pipeline, if you will. So.
Yeah, I like what you said about the relationship building piece, because I think about myself, I think about my dad, I think about all the very positive male role models that I've had in my life. And even though the relationships have been built, it's fewer and far between. I know it's one of those things of I know I have friends, but I've got 3 to 4 that I'm if I call them, they're going to answer. And if we're burying a body, they do it.
Right.
Versus even Rachel, I feel like there are people that she may know less than I do, in terms of they've not known each other as long, but it would be a quicker yes, girl, let's go.
Yeah.
So it is that emotional connection that I think sometimes in men we can not open that to others, and it can be hurtful. I also think it's something that many people associate, because marketing. I think there are many marketing roles that are primarily women-led industry. And I think part of that is because people start to see certain personality traits as effeminate. And I'm like, no, it's just about the connection. It's about talking. I know quite a few people in the area that are the one man in the entire company doing that role. All right, great. We're going to take a quick break, go to ad break, and then when we get back, we'll dive further in. Starting from the small details to the big ideas that you want to communicate, Blouse House Creative will pour their hearts into helping you connect with your audience. Their priority is to cultivate your message in a way that is authentic to who you are. They want to take your knowledge and ideas and craft them into effective products for you. Started in August 2018 as Blouse House Printing and Design, Blouse House Creative has been serving their customers from their current location since February of 2022. It is locally and female-owned right here in the New River Valley. They are ready to serve you with their printers, computers, laminators, plotters, cutters, and binding machines for any of your graphic design or printing needs. Their passion is being creative while still being practical and efficient. For more information, go to blousehouse.org. That's blousehouse.org. Back to the episode. All right, we're back. Real quick, I want to thank Grand Home Furnishings for providing the chairs in here, the rug in here. Really stepped up our game for this year, and as you can see, we're doing some more redecorating for 2026. But thank you, Grand, for providing the rug and the chairs. You've done work the past 3 years. I don't know. I've only been here 3 years, so we're going to say 3 years on the Women's Leadership Conference. I know you're involved with ABWA in a leadership role, or have been at times. When it comes down to those pieces, what do you think you see sometimes as the struggle of what new women-owned businesses are struggling with the most? Like, I know it's always going to be personal. Some people are type A, some people are type B. Some have ADHD and do it all. What's up? But like, I think about, here's a good example. We've just finished the Launch Christiansburg thing. And I know, as a mentor, you're going through with someone that is younger, someone that, would fall under, it's a woman-owned business. What do you feel like coming out of a college student to someone now? We're not naming ages, but that's more seasoned, been in the area around. What do you think is like that struggle path? Because I feel like it's differing, but there's still some commonalities.
Like you said, I think there is a lot of like personality. Like it takes, the right kind of person to succeed as an entrepreneur, because you have to be really dedicated and motivated. One of the things that I feel like is universal all around the globe is like speaking. I was really bad at this when I hated talking in front of people. Like that was like my worst nightmare, right? Like I was like, no. And then when they tell you to talk about yourself and your business, I was like, I print things. Do you know, like that was me, like little mouse voice. And now, I mean, in college, I really kind of came out of my shell. So I really was not that quiet even when I started my business, but it was still hard for me. I just had to like, fake it till you make it. I really hate that saying, but that's how it felt sometimes. Like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? Or like after I get done talking or even just have a conversation with someone, I'm like, I go sit in my car and cry because I'm like, oh my God, I said this. What did they think about? Like, the overthinking, the
anxiety and all of that.
Such a real thing. So I would say that probably would be one of the biggest things, because talking about yourself is so hard, especially when you're like trying to convince somebody that you're the best or they want to work with you or whatever. Like, even for like awards, like filling those things out, like having to like write down all the things that you've done and like really brag about yourself. And they're like, you have to, and I was like, I don't do that. Like, I'll tell you what I've done or what I get excited about, but I'm not one to be like, well, you should use me because blah, 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 blah. Like I don't have that in me. Like I'm not that like pushy salesperson. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of what I think about when I think about bragging about myself, but I'm not good at it. I've learned how to figure out my own way to do that, you know what I mean, for things like that. But yeah, so I think that's I would say maybe the number one thing.
Yeah. That, like the confidence. And I've heard that recently with Rachel. Like she went and she talked to someone, and it just so happened that I saw that person later that day. And they were like, please tell Rachel she did a good job. She just needs to be more comfortable in doing it. And I saw it put at one point, and whether you agree with this, disagree with this, whatever, that if you go into the room with the confidence of a man who's less than qualified, you're going to be fine. Because I've never seen anyone that can commandeer a room and make people feel as confident in the world as someone that doesn't know what they're talking about. Like, but no, I understand. Like, I feel that too. The imposter syndrome gets to me so often that I'm like, anytime I've ever delivered a photo, I'm immediately like, don't tell me it's good.
My mother-in-law, like when I tell her about a big job I did or some kind of, even not a big job, just any job that I did that I was excited about, she's like, what did you hear from? Like, you got it done? I'm like, yeah. Did you hear from them? And I was like, no. And she's like, they didn't like email you and tell you did a good job or that they love it. And I was like, no, that's not a thing that I get. Like, unless they're like picking it up in person, usually they'll say something, or you can kind of tell maybe they don't like, I mean, I don't know. But it's really like that whole thought process is just, that doesn't occur to people. I do that a lot. Like, I get excited about stuff because that's just my personality. But people don't. They're like, I paid you for a service. You did it. Okay. Like, they're not like going to be like, unless you like ask them to send you a Google referral or something. You know what I mean? Like, they're just not, whether they like you, they probably tell other people about it, but they're not necessarily going to say that to you. You have to just know and be confident in yourself and know that you did a good job. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe that doesn't happen. I'm like, no.
The amount of brides we've never heard back from. And I'm just like, but wait, do you like them? No. Versus like when it's like, you get something in the immediate I feel like it does pick up, but over the time of business ownership, it's been like, you have to find those moments that give you the drive regardless. Right. And I think that's where the accountability partner comes in. So you can be like, this one up, it's a success, and they can cheerlead you. Yes. Because you're like, thank you, because I needed that.
let me tell you about what I did today. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, goodness. So we talked a little bit with your design, but and I know we've kind of gone through the design process before in terms of production, I think. But from your side, when someone reaches out, going all the way through the distribution, and you've sent it and they've not told you good job, like, how varied is that process for you? I feel like
changes
you could be
every
like,
day.
I'm going to call you out. I need that quote still. But no, I feel like even with some of the stuff here, there's certain pieces, of course, that are like the stickers or business cards maybe that are quicker. And then there are the big sign installs. So I want to talk about the sign install piece, because I feel like when you get down to that side of design and then production, it's something that is going to have more longevity than a business card. Someone could have a new business card next month. What are some of the pieces that you're looking for to make sure that that longevity is there?
So as far as like visibility, I feel like is the biggest thing when it comes to like bigger signs. Like people are like, I want it as big as possible. And like that is sometimes a good thing, sometimes maybe not, just depending on, well, also sign regulations and what you can have.
I was about to say
is a
zoning
huge thing.
Is yeah.
Yeah. So that's always first box you need to check. And you need to get it, you really need the design to get it approved so they know. Like they need to know all the things, right? Like before you can do it. So you have to design and then wait.
Yeah.
And so things like that sometimes are hard to get people to understand because they're like, I just want it now. You know, but so that it's definitely a process. It takes time. And sometimes it's out of my control as to how fast it can get done. Right. Like, and people just have to, I try to explain that in the beginning, but you know, sometimes people don't listen. Sometimes they do. And they're like, oh no, it's totally fine, you know, but I think that color choice and font choice are huge things. And some of that comes back to your logo. Like, cause a lot of times a big sign that you're having outside is going to have your logo on it. So making those decisions before you ever maybe even get to me, if I didn't do your logo, like can make a huge, huge difference in visibility and people seeing it or being excited about it. Cause you could have a sign that's up that people see every day and they know it's there. They would never be able to tell you what it said.
Right.
And then there's other ones that are simple is so much better. And I say that I am a very simplistic designer for the most part. I can do the more complicated stuff when it's needed. I don't think in business it's always as neat. Like simple is better. Like you have to make things easy for people. I've really had that conversation like 5 times this week already. Like when talking about starting your business and what you're going to put out there, like bullet points, people don't read paragraphs, which we've touched on that before. We don't need to go back into that. People don't read, which is fine. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Like I went to the wrong place for an event yesterday, so it's fine. But I made it there.
I think it's one of those things too, that it depends on your business location to a degree. So when we were at Great Road, obviously, it's an older church building. There was the marquee out front that if anybody's driven by Christiansburg Pharmacy and you've seen, they change it all the time. People pay attention to that. we had a marquee that was just the same. I don't think people paid attention to it though, because they looked over and went, oh, that's a church marquee.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep driving.
Yeah.
They don't even, so like you have to, there's some of those that are intangible that you have to be like, hey, that's got to be thought of.
Right. And it's like, yeah, where you're at is a huge piece of it too. Cause like, even like smaller things, like, you know, in another group setting where there's like, it's like a big building and there's several businesses in it, like what you're allowed to do on the outside. And then once people come in and directing you. And so those things are important though, because if they can't find you or they have trouble, they're going to get frustrated. And then if they come into your office frustrated, you're already set yourself up for failure. You know what I mean? So I try to be like, think about that every time someone asks me like, oh, I need this. They're like, I have measurements. I'm like, no. I would like to come see it. Like, I will take the time to go do those things. And I think that's pretty standard for the most part, but sometimes you get busy and you're like, okay, well, I'll do it. And then once I do it, and I'm like, oh, why?
Right.
But for the most part, I usually go and look at things, or I like to see the vehicle before we're going to wrap it and see what imperfection, like, because all those things like matter and affect it. And yeah, so the design process for that, I feel like is like, okay, how is like more of a conversation, like is the first battle, like how can we talk about this and figure out what's the easiest thing? Because people want all their information out there right in front of people's faces. And I'm like, sometimes that's not always good. Like, if it's just your business sign, like a phone number might be okay. I have a phone number on my sign because of where I'm at. But if it's just like a sign, like just your logo is okay sometimes. Like they'll go look you up if they want to know. And if it looks good, like I just did one for Ed and Ethel's for Floyd, and it's just black and white. And that's what a lot of their stuff is. And it looks so good. We did a black metal frame, and it stands out. Well, it's also huge, but it looks good. I'm not bragging on myself, but it does.
Hey, so, you're allowed to do that. Confidence. It's also one of those things. I think this bleeds into the digital as well, because I recently had someone kind of talking to me about something, and they said, well, what about just a landing page where people can go and then they can click and go find the other stuff? And I was like, my struggle with that is the same as when you walk into a building and you don't have a clear marker of where you're going. You have so little time to connect with someone that if they're already having to do multiple steps, they're going to be taken out of it.
Yeah.
When it comes into some of those physical sign, where does the material piece come in as well? Because I think about, again, the longevity of it. There's some materials that people may go, well, this is going to be cheaper, but don't think about the fact that, great, you may replace this in 2 years.
Yeah.
But then there's also some other like intricacies, like signs that light up and some of that. How do you kind of build in that structure of, hey, this is going up. This does not have a permanent life. Like, I'm not guaranteeing this for life. We're just not. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's usually part of the conversation. Sometimes I feel like it's kind of like I don't know, it should be known, like, things don't last forever, right?
Yeah.
But people don't always think about that. And so,
some people still have the fridge from the 80s. Like, I mean, some things do last forever. But
yeah, but things, even now, like, things aren't made like they were before either. No. Like, I don't know. So, usually, I mean, I have all the specs on that. Usually, if people ask, I'll usually like print out the spec sheet, like this vinyl lasts for this long, or that's usually in the like pricing. Like they tell me their idea, and then I'm like, okay, well, we have this and this. These are your two choices. This is what I would recommend, whatever. And when it's stuff that like maybe I haven't used before, like material or something, I feel like I have found some really good suppliers that are good at talking to me about it, because they make it, like they know more about it. And so they're really good at, I can go and ask them questions and be like, whatever. And if they don't know, they're going to ask somebody else that works there that know, you know what I mean? Like, so, I've done actually a lot of that recently, of like figuring out what the best, material is for that. And so I think just making sure doing that, like I said, I do that in the pricing process more than in the design. So we're already prepared and know what we're doing.
Right. Yeah.
And then just, explaining that to people. One of the things with signs is like, certain ones, if you're like putting posts in the ground, like this isn't going to change. Because
Right.
if it does, then we have to dig everything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you need to make sure you like it now.
Right.
Because it probably will be here for a long time. Not just like, oh, in a couple years we want to change this.
Change
Like,
it out, yeah.
no, that's not. It's not the easiest
It's an
thing.
intensive process, yeah.
Because like for the big post signs, like they overlap some of the signs, so you lose like inch or two around the outside, and there's vinyl on that. Like if you try to peel it off, you're not going to be able to do a very good
Right.
job. So, and that's when it comes, like there are options like cut vinyl, but you really limit what you can do with that versus printed and longevity and things too. So
Yeah. I think sometimes about the like timeless aspect in that too, and that like you shouldn't be investing in a big sign if you know you're going through a rebrand next year. But I also know some of that isn't necessarily dictated by, like, for the small businesses, sure. But if you're a national brand and you're opening a local chain, next year your whole brand could change and it's dictated to you. It's not a choice.
Right.
So I understand that some of that is out of people's control and whatnot. But when it comes to the color in that, do you find there's any that are more or less susceptible to the elements? So I think about there's one sign in Christiansburg that when it is a gray, cold day, I cannot see it because the coloring just feels like it blends in.
Well, so even if so lamination helps with like the sun and fading, but even my truck, like the yellow has faded and I've had it on there, but it's like the type of cut vinyl it is. It's like, you know what I mean? Like it depends more on like the product, I think, than, I mean, colors. I do think that there's some like yellow, I feel like is yellow and gray are like the weird ones, right? Or green even too is kind of in that world. Like when you print it, it's always going to look a little different. Well, everything's always going to look different from screen to print, but grays are like a weird one, right? Like they change like depending on how the sun hits it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and in foggy weather, you're probably not gonna be able to see that. Even if you have like some, like black and white are usually the contrast. So like how much it separates from its background, like is probably the biggest. If you're gonna like focus on one thing for your sign, that's probably it. Like, don't put pink and purple against each other because you're gonna be in trouble. Stick to your brand colors, but also like it's okay to use black and white with your brand colors. It usually will work out fine, and you'll be okay.
I was about to say, I feel like everyone should have a black and white.
Yeah, well, I agree, but that's not always true.
That's fair. There are some things I can think about.
That might not look good with that, but there's just ways, finding, and that's where having a graphic designer or someone that's in that world can really, because things like that, I don't even think about things like that. I just do them, right? Like, so thinking to even explain that to a customer sometimes, like if they ask the question, I can explain, oh, well, this is why I did this, but it doesn't even register as a thought for me. It's just something that I do. Or I'm like, oh, that doesn't look right. And then I realize, oh, that's because it's like, doesn't look good together. So, and I struggle with that. I have blue and teal and they're close enough that you can't, if you overlap them, you have to know they're going to fade. So, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, contrast is probably the biggest.
I like the comment about glare too, because I feel like that is something I got roasted during the Halloween window display contest because people were like, why did he take the pictures when there's so much glare? And I'm like, I can't control the sun. I'm working when the sun is up. I can only do so much.
Right.
But you have to think about that with your signs. Like if the sun's gonna hit it at 5:00 and that's when everybody's driving and they can't see your sign, well, maybe that's not the best way to do it.
Or misplacement.
Yeah.
Which sometimes you don't have control over that. But.
Right, yeah. Well, this is going to be a quick plug for IFS. If you've not been a part of it, you should meet with Marissa and get your sponsorships on for next year. I don't know if you're doing any podcasts next year, but I hope you are.
A couple, yeah.
Okay, great. So then as we end this podcast, as we end your final episode of 2025, I'm not going to ask for your resolutions because like I think resolutions are done by January 2nd.
Right.
You know if you're going to do it or not. But as we look to next year, what are some of the things you're kind of like, all right, this is what I'm going to be working towards? You've got your accountability partner, but what are some of our accountability listeners able to like ask you about?
So I think growth and like in the business is kind of where my focus is going to be. We haven't gotten to that in our accountability meetings yet, but that's kind of what I've been thinking, like, growth and like being able to better explain or show people what I can do. I am currently working on my website. It is very plain right now, so don't judge me because, it's a process and it takes a lot of time. But I have a really, really great plan planned out for my website. I just have to get it done.
Right, yeah.
And work on my stuff also while doing other people's. So, and I have several other websites I'm currently working on too for people. So
working on,
we're going to get it done. So to be able to explain kind of what I can do so people can go see it, because visually is so much better than me like just listing off a list to you, because you can see it and think about it and get excited about it. So those are kind of some of the things, and just like growth. And I don't know what exactly that looks like but being able to like be there for more businesses and show up in the community more and those kind of things. Cause I've kind of been in this like, not even a rut, just like a, process, right? Like the process of getting through all the junk, I guess, if you will. So all been very positive, just trying to get through that part and move on to thriving is our new word for for our accountability. Is we're not surviving, we're thriving. So
well, and you've done something that I've seen and struggled with this year as well. You had a newborn, you've gone through that phase, you are now in that part of like, okay, they're a little more self-sustainable. So like that's something Rachel and I are trying to figure out, of like, editing things takes a while. And when you've got a little baby that is not like, it's like, hey, I'm gonna nap for 15 minutes right now. It might be 2.5 hours later when you can't do any work, but for right now it's 15 minutes. I as a woman-owned business, I think that's something you also have to think about, that men don't as much. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I am take kid to work. Like, you're just going to roll with the punches. Like, both my kids are kind of probably already used to that. Where I have an older one, it does help some, because like, so if the younger one gets out of daycare before like I'm like, we got to get them both at the same time, because they play together, and then I can like do dishes or like do whatever needs to be done. Or, if I take them both to work with me versus just taking the 1.5-year-old, it's like, oh, well, that was much easier, because they can even just watching TV together is much more fun than like the one sitting, you know what I mean? Like, so they can interact with each other and don't bug me as much. Although the older one now wants to like help, right? Like he ended up helping with the sign for Ed Nethels and got to put dirt back in the hole, and he was like the happiest kid in the world. I mean, he's a boy and it's dirt, so he's happy. But and then the little one was like, "Oh, let me try. Give me a shovel." And I was like, "Okay." So anyway, but I mean, that's family comes first for me, and that's like, so we just roll with it. And again, the authenticity, like just being honest with people, like, I got a sick kid today, and this is where we're at, and I'll do my best. Like I think everybody can relate to that. They know whether they have kids or not. Like, they understand that you have a life other than your job. Although sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but you do. And it is important.
It's funny how I think just it changes, because I remember I used to, like, you'd hear the baby cry and you'd be like, man, what's going on? And then now, last night even, Cora kept talking and I was like, yeah, cool. What's up? How are you doing? Yeah, it's crazy that you think that. And I think some people probably going to hear me like and be like, that man's insane. Because the amount of times Cora's just like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like carrying on a conversation as she understands me.
Yeah, I do that too. I talk to him like they're normal. My older son's like, he's like, goo goo gaga. I was like, no, we're not talking to the baby like that. We're going to talk to him normally so he learns to say the words like for real. And he's like slowly starting to do that now. And it's funny to try and figure out what they're saying, right?
Yeah. The amount of times that my mom, when she's here, she's like, Nana. I'm like, no, mama or dada's first. Mm-hmm. And if you keep this up, I'm only going to refer to you as grandmother so that she cannot get it out. But love you, Mom. Love you, Cora. Well, thank you, Kasey, for being here. Any parting words of wisdom for people?
I know sometimes you just have to like pull your boots up, put your lipstick on, and go do it.
Nice. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We always appreciate it that you're here along for the journey. Please make sure you like, download, subscribe, follow all the things so that you never miss an episode or any of the other content we're putting out through the Chamber. In the meantime, go out, invest, connect, engage, and prosper.